Have you ever wondered what it takes to win the ultimate game of deception? Where the lines between cop and criminal blur so much you can't tell who's who anymore? And what if the very people sworn to protect you are the ones pulling the strings from the shadows? Today, we're diving deep into the treacherous world of The Departed, a film that redefines the meaning of a double cross. Before we unravel this twisted masterpiece, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We dissect the greatest films to ever grace the silver screen, and you won't want to miss a single one. All right, let's talk about The Departed. Martin Scorsese, the maestro of crime cinema, brings us a story so intricately woven, so utterly brutal, it leaves you breathless. We're thrown into the gritty streets of 1980s South Boston, a place where loyalty is a currency and survival means becoming a predator. Our entry point is young Colin Sullivan, played with chilling ambition by Matt Damon. He's a kid growing up in the shadow of the Irish mob, and crucially, in the orbit of the terrifyingly charismatic Frank Costello, brought to life by the one and only Jack Nicholson. Costello isn't just a gangster, he's a philosopher of corruption, his creed etched into the very soul of this neighborhood. I don't want to be a product of my environment, I want my environment to be a product of me. This isn't just about taking what you want, it's about shaping the world to your will, no matter the cost. We see this philosophy in action, a microcosm of Costello's power. He's in a dingy convenience store, demanding protection money from a shop owner who's clearly terrified. The man's hands tremble, his eyes dart around, a picture of pure dread. Costello, with a sinister charm, warns him to have more cash next time. And then he spots young Colin. There's this immediate recognition, a glint in Costello's eye. He inquires about Colin's father, then proceeds to shower the boy with groceries and coins. A seemingly paternal gesture, but it's more than that. It's a seeding, a promise whispered in the ear of a child. Remember, you can get more money from Costello when you get older. This is the genesis of the rot, the moment a future mole is groomed, his path irreversibly set. Fast forward years, and Colin Sullivan is indeed climbing the ranks, not on the streets, but within the Massachusetts State Police. Costello, the puppet master, has orchestrated his rise, placing him as a mole within the Special Investigations Unit, a unit tasked with exactly what Sullivan is betraying, taking down organized crime.
It's a masterful stroke of irony, a serpent coiled in the heart of the beast. But The Departed isn't just about one infiltrator. It's a story of mirrors, of doubles, of inescapable symmetry. Enter Billy Costigan, portrayed with raw vulnerability and escalating desperation by Leonardo DiCaprio. Before he even graduates the police academy, Costigan is identified by Captain Queenan, Martin Sheen, and Staff Sergeant Dignam, Mark Wahlberg, as their ace in the hole. His family ties to the mob make him the perfect candidate to go undercover, to get deep inside Costello's organization. They don't just ask him, they pressure him, trying to force him out. They tell him he's too smart, that his connections are too dangerous. But Costigan, when pushed, pushes back. He's not a pushover. Seeing this defiance, Queenan and Dignam shift tactics. They offer him a deal, a chance to be a cop, but with a catch. He has to quit the academy, serve serious time in jail on a trumped-up charge, and become their deep cover operative. Only they will know. It's a sacrifice, a plunge into the abyss, all for a bonus and a chance at redemption, or at least a chance to do some good. Costigan takes the bait, and the descent begins. He throws himself into the criminal world, embracing the persona of a hardened felon. He gets into scrapes, draws attention, and importantly, draws Costello's attention. In a pivotal scene, he confronts two Italian mobsters extorting the very same store owner from Costello's childhood. He doesn't just fight them, he beats them brutally, breaking his own hand in the process. This is calculated chaos, a performance designed to impress. Costello hears about it, summons him. This meeting is a masterclass in intimidation. Costello, surrounded by his crew, makes Costigan an offer of protection, a veiled threat. Then comes the true test. Mr. French, a chillingly efficient member of Costello's gang, is ordered to check Costigan for weapons, for a wire. The cast on Costigan's broken hand is brutally smashed open. Costello then takes that broken hand and beats it with a shoe, trying to force a confession. It's agonizing to watch, a true testament to DiCaprio's performance. Costigan endures it, his resolve unbroken. He's in. He's officially one of Costello's men. As these two moles, Sullivan and Costigan, burrow deeper into their respective worlds, the film introduces the inevitable complication: love. Sullivan begins a relationship with Madeline Madden, Vera Farmiga.
But the cruel twist of fate. Costigan also finds himself seeing Madeline for his probation, and yes, he too develops a connection with her. Now, not only are they on opposite sides of the law, but they are also entangled in the same woman's life, a ticking time bomb of potential exposure. Their double lives start to intersect in more significant ways. During a high-stakes deal involving stolen missile guidance microchips, Sullivan, acting on Costello's behalf, warns his boss about an impending police operation. Everyone scatters, disappearing onto boats, avoiding capture. This is the first crack in the facade, the first clear indication that Sullivan is actively feeding information to Costello. Over the next year, Costigan's immersion intensifies. The constant pressure, the violence, the moral compromises, it takes a toll. His mental state begins to fray, but Queenan and Dignam urge him on, believing in the mission. Meanwhile, his sessions with Madeline continue, a sanctuary and a source of increasing emotional entanglement. This isn't just a job for Costigan, it's consuming him. Then, the inevitable happens. Costello narrowly escapes another sting operation. Both moles, Sullivan and Costigan, now realize that the other organization has an infiltrator. The heat is on. The Massachusetts State Police and Costello's crew are suddenly aware of the enemy within. And who do they task with finding these rats? Their own moles. Sullivan, who's told to find the rat in the police force. He asks Costello for information, for IDs of his crew members, so he can track them down. The irony is almost unbearable. Costigan, on his end, is also hunting the informant. Through hushed conversations with a member of Costello's crew, he uncovers a monumental truth. Costello himself is an FBI informant. This explains why federal prosecutors have always failed to bring him down. It's a bombshell, a seismic shift in the power dynamic. Costigan, armed with this explosive knowledge, visits Queenan late at night, desperate to share it. But the danger is escalating. Meanwhile, Mr. French is collecting all the social security numbers and IDs from Costello's crew. Costigan, in a moment of subtle defiance, corrects Fitzgibbon's misspelling of citizens on an envelope containing this vital information. He's leaving his mark, a ghost in the machine. His visit to Madeline's apartment is heartbreaking. She's moving out. She tells him she's moving in with Sullivan. The pain on Costigan's face is palpable.
They talk, and then, in a moment of shared desperation and perhaps solace, they have sex. The world is closing in, and these intimate moments are becoming both lifelines and potential traps. One night, Costigan follows Costello into an adult theater. He witnesses a clandestine meeting, Costello handing an envelope to a dark figure. That figure, chillingly, is Sullivan. Costigan's mission is to get a visual ID, but Sullivan, sensing he's being watched, panics. He stabs a man, mistaking him for Costigan, and flees. Costigan, now truly fearing for his life, believing Costello will discover him any minute, calls Queenan to abort the mission. But Sullivan, ever the schemer, is one step ahead. He has Queenan followed, feeding a false lead to his fellow officers that Queenan might be the spy. Simultaneously, he calls Costello's gang, tipping them off to Queenan's location. When Costello's men descend, Queenan, a man of honor till the end, helps Costigan escape. But he's caught, and in a horrific act of brutality, thrown from the building to his death. As Costigan emerges, he plays the part, pretending to join Costello's men. This leads to a bloody firefight between the police and the mobsters. Dignam, witnessing Queenan's murder, unleashes his rage on Sullivan, a moment of raw, untamed fury that gets him suspended. The body count is rising, and the moral landscape is becoming a blood-soaked wasteland. Later, a wounded Fitzgibbons, one of Costello's henchmen, reveals something crucial to Sullivan. Delahunt, another crew member, was an undercover cop. The chaos of the shootout continues to unravel Costello's organization, but the focus shifts. Timothy Delahunt, another of Costello's men, also wounded, manages to finger Costigan as the mole before he dies. Dignam, his suspension, now a consequence of his righteous anger, is forced to step down from the police force. The web is tightening, but the wrong threads are being cut. Sullivan, using Queenan's phone, contacts Costigan. He wants to confirm his suspicions, to lure him out. Costigan, incredibly, refuses to abort his mission. He's still playing the long game. Sullivan then stumbles upon a crucial piece of information. He finds Queenan's diary and learns about Costello's role as an informant for the FBI. The implications are terrifying. If Costello is exposed, his entire network, including Sullivan, could crumble. The paranoia, the fear of exposure, must be immense. With Costigan's help, and likely fueled by a desire to eliminate Costello before he can be exposed, the police trace Costello to a cocaine drop-off.
A massive gunfight erupts, most of Costello's crew perishing. And there, at the scene, is Sullivan, confronting Costello. In a moment of brutal honesty, Costello admits he's an occasional FBI informant. And then, Sullivan, the mole within the police, the man Costello groomed, shoots him multiple times. Costello is dead. The next day, Sullivan is hailed as a hero, applauded by everyone on the force. He's played his hand perfectly, eliminating the threat and emerging as the savior. Then comes the truly devastating turn. Costigan, believing his mission is complete, comes to Sullivan for his identity to be restored, to finally be the cop he was meant to be. He walks into Sullivan's office, a place of supposed safety, unaware that he's walking into the lion's den. He reveals his undercover status, ready to shed the skin of the criminal. But as Sullivan leaves the room, Costigan's eyes fall on an envelope on Sullivan's desk, the same envelope from the adult theater. The horrifying realization dawns. Sullivan wasn't just a cop groomed by Costello, he was Costello's mole in the police. Costigan, trapped, forced to flee, knows he's been found out. Sullivan, now aware that Costigan knows his secret, acts with ruthless efficiency. He erases all records of Costigan from the police computer system. The man's entire existence is being systematically dismantled. Meanwhile, Madeline tells Sullivan she's pregnant, but she doesn't reveal the father. The ambiguity hangs heavy in the air. Costigan, anticipating the worst, visits Madeline. She's told Sullivan about the pregnancy, but not Costigan, perhaps sensing the danger, or perhaps still caught between them. Costigan gives her an envelope, a contingency, with instructions to open it if something happens to him. It's a final, desperate act of self-preservation. Later, Madeline discovers the package from Costigan. Inside is a CD containing recordings of Costello's conversations with Sullivan, the damning evidence. Sullivan walks in as she's listening, the truth echoing in the room. He tries to smooth talk his way out, to deny, to deceive, but his efforts are futile. He contacts Sullivan, desperate to control the narrative. Costigan reveals the truth. Costello recorded every conversation with Sullivan. His lawyer, acting on Costello's final wishes, has given these recordings to Costigan, and Costigan intends to use them to implicate Sullivan. He arranges a meeting on that same rooftop where Queenan met his end. The symbolic weight is crushing.
On the roof, Costigan, with a chilling calm, catches Sullivan off guard. He handcuffs him, the hunter, now the hunted. And then, as Costigan had secretly arranged, Officer Brown appears. Shocked, Brown draws his gun on Costigan, who tries to explain, to expose Sullivan as the rat. He asks Brown why Dignam isn't with him, a question that hangs in the air, unanswered. Costigan leads Sullivan towards the elevator, the moment of justice seemingly within reach. But this is the departed. Justice is a fleeting, brutal mistress. As the elevator reaches the ground floor, Berrigan, another officer, emerges and shoots Costigan in the head. Then he turns his gun on Brown, revealing the horrifying truth. Costello had more than one mole in the police. Brown, bleeding, makes it to the lobby, only to be gunned down by Berrigan. Sullivan, in a final Machiavellian move, shoots Berrigan dead. He needs a scapegoat, a patsy. Berrigan will be the sole mole. Back at police headquarters, Sullivan, with practiced composure, identifies Berrigan as the mole. He orchestrates a posthumous Medal of Merit for Costigan, a hollow tribute to the man he murdered. At Costigan's funeral, Sullivan watches Madeline, silently weeping. He finally understands. They were involved. He tries to speak to her about the baby, but she ignores him. Her grief and her realization of his true nature too profound. Later, Sullivan arrives home, and there, waiting for him, is Dignam, the detective who lost his mentor, his friend. Sullivan, with a chilling indifference, accepts his fate. Dignam doesn't hesitate. He shoots Sullivan in the head, a swift, brutal act of vengeance for Queenan and Costigan. He walks away, the cycle of violence momentarily broken, but the scars etched deep. The final shot, a rat crawling on a railing, the Massachusetts State House in the distance. A perfect, chilling symbol of the rot, the corruption, the insidious nature of the secrets that infest even the highest levels of power. The Departed isn't just a movie, it's a visceral, unflinching examination of the human condition, a stark reminder that in the darkest of wars, sometimes the enemy is already within.